Okay, let's do a review on the 1970 Minnesota Twins. This is part of the Strat-O-Matic 1970s Diamond Gem set, 1970 Twins, 98 wins, and American League West champion. Let's get right into the offense. Let's take a look at the top of the order with Cesar Tovar and Rod Carew. You see their on base chance numbers right there. Now, the thing to keep in mind about 1970 Minnesota Twins was Rod Carew that year only had 191 at bats, and he is not in the regular lineup against left-handed pitching as he was hurt for a significant portion of the year. So I did factor that into my overall score later on. But let's be honest here. If you're playing with the 1970 Twins and you're sitting down to play like a best of five or a best of seven with a friend, you're obviously going to be playing Rod Carew at second base uh, no matter what. The second baseman listed in the Strat-O-Matic book for their regularly used lineups was Danny Thompson, and he's really more of a defensive player. He doesn't have much of a card when it comes to hitting. So that is just something to keep in mind about the 1970 Twins offense here. You can see Rod Carew's on base chance numbers are just off the charts, especially against left-handed pitching. And I'm also going to show you his hits with multiple base advancement. So really, just a terrific card out of Rod Carew for 1970s. A nice centerpiece in this Minnesota Twins Strat-O-Matic lineup. Now, let me show you the Twins heart of the order. I'm going to show you the numbers for Tony Oliva, Rich Reese, and Harmon Killebrew. These three were basically in the lineup every day. The only difference in the lineup was Oliva would hit third against righties and he would hit cleanup against lefties as he would flip flop with Harmon Killebrew. So you see their hits with multiple base advancement. Killebrew's numbers go up significantly depending on ballpark effect home runs. And this is a team that if you're playing a game in Minnesota's park, it is very favorable to right-handed hitting. So that's something to keep in mind for Harmon Killebrew. Singles on a D20 are a 1 through 15, and home runs on a D20 are 1 to 10. So I wish these numbers on the surface were a little bit higher. You get very good production out of Tony Oliva versus right-handed pitching, which is nice. I just wish the numbers on Killebrew and Reese were a little bit higher. Now let's take a look at the left field platoon, where versus right-handed pitching, you had Jim Holt playing left field, and versus left-handed pitching, we had Brent Alia, if I'm pronouncing that last name correctly. But anyway, that's your left field platoon. You see their numbers, Alia's numbers against lefties and Holt against righties. So you get good production out of your left field platoon. Now, you don't get much production out of the everyday shortstop Leo Cardenas or the everyday catcher George Mitterwald. But what I will do is I'm going to go ahead and show you the numbers for Bob Allison. This is a guy who, if you do find yourself playing with the 1970 Twins, you might want to try to get him in your lineup against left-handed pitching, as you see his on base chance numbers right there. So as we look at the 1970 Twins offense, I graded them out at a nice score of a 3.8 out of 5, as I graded them good with on base percentage and middle of the order, as I gave them a 3.5 out of 5. What I do like about this lineup is I do like the righty lefty mix in this 1970 Twins order. As you go Tovar, Carew, Oliva, Killebrew, Reese, you go right, left, left, right, left. And I spoke on the left field platoon that the 1970 Twins had. So overall, this is a very good offense that the 1970 Twins can run at you. It's a little bit top heavy, however. You don't get much production out of your 7 and 8 spots. And If you are playing with the DH, you do have some options of guys that you could throw in at DH. Keep in mind, this is 1970, so this predates the implementation of the designated hitter. So my final score for the 1970 Twins offense comes out to a 3.8 out of 5. Now, that's the good news on the 1970 Twins. The bad news is going to be the defense. You are not very solid at second base. The one saving grace about Rod Carew is that he was only a 3 in 1970, but the E rating, that's a rough E rating to carry, and I'll hit on that more. You are solid at shortstop with Cardenas there. He's a 2 and an E18. We take a look at the outfield defense. These are basically your 4 guys who you're going to be playing in the outfield. Pretty much every day. The one suggestion that I would make is Tovar is labeled as the regular center fielder, but if you're sitting down and playing with them, I would just make a suggestion of just, if you're facing right-handed pitching, I would just move Holt into center field and move Tovar over to left. But grading off of the way the Strat-O-Matic book has it, Tovar is the regular center fielder and Holt platoons in left field with Aliyah. So you could see the outfield defense can be a little bit of a problem because you have a 3 in left, or excuse me, you have a 3 in center with Tovar. You're solid when you have Holt out there in left, but you got Aliyah who's a 4. Oliva is solid with his ranking as a 2, but the E rating is going to hurt you. So, and if we stay in the outfield and just talk about the E ratings, again, Oliva E13, Tovar an E10. You got 2 double-digit E ratings there, so that's not good news. If we go back to the middle infield, you got Rod Carew at second with the E30. That's not good news either. And as we look at the corner infield spots, when you have Rich Reese at first base, first base, anything over an E10, I'm not crazy about there. And you have Harmon Killebrew at third base. His E rating checks in okay because he's just below my magical number of an E24 at third base. I don't like anything 25 or higher at third base. So at least Killebrew is just okay at third base with his E rating, albeit he is a 4. So the 1970 Twins defense did not grade out very well, as you could see by these final scores that I gave them. They come out as a below average defensive team. Now, let's get to the 1970 Twins starting pitching. Let's get started with the ace, Jim Perry. You can see very, very good on base chance numbers out of Jim Perry. He does have just a slight power issue against right-handed hitting, but it's not that bad. But that is one thing to look at on his card. Now, if we were to look at the starting rotation depth, let me show you the numbers for Jim Cott, Burt Blyleven, and Bill Zepp. You could see all of their numbers check out well above average. Burt Blyleven, however, a little too much power on his card against left-handed pitching, but you could see the numbers are very good out of your 2, 3, 4 guys in the 1970 Twins rotation. And there is another guy you could throw into the rotation who I'll speak on in more detail when I get to the bullpen. But overall, I really do like this Twins starting rotation. They graded out as a very good score of a 4.5 out of 5, as I gave Jim Perry a perfect score of a 5 out of 5, and I gave the starting rotation depth a score of a 4. It actually would have been higher than a 4 if it wasn't for Burt Blyleven's power issues against left-handed pitching. So that's good news for the 1970 Twins. They grade out at a 4.5 out of 5 in the starting rotation category. Now let's look at the bullpen. Let's look at the closer, Ron Peronowski. His on base chance numbers, and he has a little bit of a power issue against left-handed hitting, which is going to work into his score later on. I wish those on base chance numbers were just a little bit lower. Those numbers are just a little bit high. Now let's look at the bullpen depth as we look at the numbers for Stan Williams, Dick Woodson. And I'm also going to spend a little time talking about a very interesting option in the Twins pitching category, lefty Tom Hall. So let me go ahead and show you all of their on base chance numbers right there. Basically, Stan Williams is the either you could use him as your setup guy or you can actually use him as the closer. As you can see, he has actually better numbers when you talk about on base chances when you roll his card. Now, what I'd also like to do here is let me go into a little detail on lefty Tom Hall. Now, Tom Hall in 1970, he is listed as a starter reliever as he had 11 starts and 4 saves. He pitched 155 innings and he went 11-6 with a 2.55 ERA in 1970. And this is really a very, very interesting option that you could use really either way when you play Strat-O-Matic. I know when I've played with this team in the past, I like having this as an option coming out of the bullpen. Once again, let me show you his on base chance numbers. You see very, very solid numbers against both left-handed hitting and right-handed hitting. And also keep in mind, he had 17 strikeouts on his card against left-handed hitting. And it also is really nice too that he's a 4 inning reliever. So this is really a really nice weapon to have on a pitching staff, and really you could use to choose them either way that you want. So as I look at the 1970 Twins bullpen, I graded the ace Ron Peronowski as just a 3.5 out of 5. Obviously, I'm not particularly crazy about his card. Based on what you get out of Stan Williams and Tom Hall, if you choose to use him out of the bullpen, I gave the bullpen depth a perfect rating of a 5 out of 5. So their bullpen score comes out to a 4.25 out of 5. So if we're to look at the 1970 Twins as a whole, you're going to see that they grade out at a very respectable score of a 3.7 out of 5. This is a team that, if you get the 1970 Diamond Gem set, I can understand where it's kind of a team that you push off to the side and you immediately look at teams like the 1970 Orioles or the 72 A's, 75, 78 Red Sox, 78 Yankees. But this team can hold up against any of these teams. This lineup, yes, I know it's a little bit of a top heavy lineup, but you are really good 1 through 4 in the lineup, and you're pretty good in the 5 hole with Reese. The starting rotation is very good on this team. The only blemish on the starting rotation, as I spoke on before, is if you got Burt Blyleven on the mound, there is a little bit of a power issue of him giving up home runs against left-handed hitters. But you're very good with Jim Cott. You're very good with Bill Zepp, and you're excellent with Jim Perry as your ace. And you have a lot of you have a few nice options out of this bullpen with the 1970 Minnesota Twins. So that's my grade on the 1970 Minnesota Twins. I thank you all for watching. And my next team breakdown, I'm going to stay in the 1970s. In fact, I'm going to stay in the year 1970, and my next review will be on the 1970 World Champion Baltimore Orioles. Have a good day, everyone.